I'll try better on the next one. Okay, how about the other way? What do you think x goes to negative infinity means? Tell me directions, guys. What do you think x goes to negative infinity means? What direction? To the left, okay. As I'm going to the left, what's the graph doing? Going down. What do you think we call that? Negative infinity. Uh-oh. That's better. Is anybody thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense because this is infinity, infinity, that's negative infinity, negative infinity. Are they ever different? Yes. What if it was x squared? Think about x squared in your head. With x squared, u, right? What would both of these be if it were x squared? Infinity, infinity. If it was negative 3x squared, then the parallel is going down. Then they would both be negative infinity. Okay? So this is something we're going to work towards. For now, you should just be able to understand if you see it, what it means, and fill it in. Does that make sense? Okay. We just did that, and we actually added some more to that, so you don't have to do any more with that. Is that away? Okay. On power functions, for any power functions, one of the three things happens when x is less than 0. That's not these pictures. Okay. I put these pictures on because this is what happens when x is greater than 0. Do you see that they're both right to the graph? Okay. If, I want you to think about this. If x is less than 0 or a negative number, f is either undefined. You go back to the 1/4 graph. Flip back. Okay. Do you see how the graph didn't even exist when x was negative? That's what I mean by undefined. So sometimes it's undefined when x is negative. Or it's even or odd. Those are the only three choices. Okay? Does that make sense? So they are going to have, for these power functions, they are going to have some type of symmetry for monomials. Either they're going to be even, and I'll tell you that if the power is even, is it related? Well, yes, but we also know other things are even, like cosine was even, right? And it wasn't even power function. Okay. Then these two pictures, do you see the picture A and the picture B there? This is just describing parts of power functions when x is positive, okay? Because when x is positive, the graph always exists. All right. So I'm going to try to sort through this with you, and you can mark up your graph. Remember the power function was k times x to the a power, correct? So if x is positive, we are putting positive numbers in for here, okay? And so if it is a number that's bigger than 1, it's going to grow quickly. Look at the red graph there. You see how it's growing pretty quickly? Okay, I'm just putting my finger on it. When a equals 1, this would be x to the first. Isn't that just a line? Do you see how I have that line there? Do you remember we just saw a fourth root and a square root? Those are fraction powers. Look at this blue line. Does that kind of look like what we got from the square root and the fourth root? Okay? And then when it's less than 0, that's flipped over. It looks like a curve like this. Think of the graph of 1 over x. Are you picturing it in your head? It looks like this because 1 over x is the same as x to the negative 1 power. Okay? So k has to be positive. Do you understand why? X is positive, so no matter what I do to x to be a, that is positive, right? If k is positive, doesn't that mean that it's going to be in quadrant 1, x coordinate, y coordinate positive? Okay. So over here, k has to be a positive number. What I want you to start to try to think about is without your graphing calculator, what these graphs are going to do. When you start multiplying this by a negative number, Then it's going to come over here. And you see that these are now all reflected over the x-axis. What quadrant of the graph is this first one? 1. What quadrant of the graph is this? 4. Alrighty. We good? You have that jotted down? Alright, last thing. You guys have on here 3 things, right? And it says, observe the values of the constant k and a. Describe the portion of the curve that lies in quadrant 1 or 4. Determine if f is even, odd, or undefined when x is less than 0. What's the first one you see written down? This? Okay. Here's what I'm going to do in my head to figure this out. First of all, this is a positive k, correct? All right. And also, this means this, just saying, this means 1 over x to the third, so couldn't I rewrite this like that? Okay? So, what do you guys think about if it's even, odd, or neither? Make a guess. Odd. Did you say because it's odd power? Guys, do you guys understand what I'm doing right now? Okay, I'm raising negative x to this power to the negative third power. What that does is it just makes it negative x, and it becomes negative 2x to the negative third. So it's odd. Okay, so I just did the even, odd, undefined thing. It's not undefined. Okay, then what do you guys think for the graph? Is it increasing or decreasing in the first and fourth quadrant? You can cheat and look at this if you want. First of all, it's in the first quadrant. How did I pick the first quadrant? Because this is a positive k. Alright? Look at the power. Is the power, so look at the first quadrant graph. Is the power less than 0? Is it greater than, or less than 0? Greater than 1, equal to 1, or between 0 and 1. Then find that picture. What is that picture doing? It's decreasing. So I'm going to write, because a is less than 1, it is decreasing. All right. While I'm doing this, but I'm doing this without a calculator, right? Get your calculator out and confirm, though, as you're going along. That's what you do. Let's do B. Okay. B. F of x equals negative 0.4 x to the 1.5. Okay, now this is tricky, and I can tell that you guys don't have a great understanding of power function. You can write that as a fraction. What fraction is it? Negative 0.4 x to the 3/2. What that means is negative 0.4, this 1/2 part, see how there's a half on the bottom? That means the square root, and this means it's cubed. This means 1/2 power and then raised to the third. That means the square root of that. Go ahead and graph that on your calculator. Tell me what you see. I'm making a prediction that it's in quadrant 4, and the reason I'm making that prediction without even looking at the graph is because the constant is a negative number. decreasing. Yeah. What does it look like? Now, we know it's a square root. It has a square root in it, correct? So you're not going to be able to take square roots of negative numbers. So does it look like, so we're saying it's in quadrant 4, so I'm going to write quadrant 4. I'm not going to write quadrant 1. The reason why I picked, then why did I write that, right? The reason it's only 1 or 4 is because, remember, sometimes it's undefined. So I'm just describing, I know for sure it's got to be in 1 or 4. Does it look like it's increasing or decreasing in quadrant 4? From left to right. Doesn't it look like this? Okay, is that left to right, is that increasing or decreasing? Left to right is always decreasing, right? Left to right, isn't this function going down?
Yeah, but left to right is going more right than left.
Increasing, decreasing is up or down.
Yeah, but you said left to right.
Okay, so let's, as I'm going this way. Is the function going up or down?
Down.
Down, then we call it decreasing.
I'm thinking that on the x-axis.
So increasing, decreasing, you describe it. So I'm going to write decreasing. If we were writing it, we would write this, 0 to infinity. But the function, the word decreasing describes that it's going down. Okay? All right. Then let's look at the last one. The last one is negative x to the point 4. All right, without even looking, remember we don't know what happens, it might be undefined when x is negative, but when x is positive, either it's going to be in quadrant 1 or 4. I'm predicting 4. Do you guys know why I'm predicting 4? Because it's a negative 1 in front, okay? So I know it's going to be in quadrant 4, and what does it look like? Increasing or decreasing in quadrant 4? Okay, does it look kind of like we call these in calculus a cup, because it looks like this. Okay, all right. So I'm not talking about in quadrant because it's over here, but in quadrant 4, that's this quadrant, okay? Do you see how if I was moving from left to right, the function is going down? So it is decreasing. In quadrant 4. I guess I didn't talk about if it was even or odd or undefined, but this one is undefined when x is negative, correct? This is an even function, if we were adding that. Is what, this a 0.4? Yes, and that's what it says on your note page, right? That is a 0.4? Yeah. Okay. So I'd like you to start thinking about what those things mean and how it affects it, but use the calculator as a backup. Okay? Do you guys have any questions so far? Okay.